Even French women aren't immune to menopausal symptoms. This video is about 6 ways inspired by French lifestyle and culture to deal with the menopause. I'm Aleksandra Olenska, and I've worked as a creative director and stylist for luxury brands including Chanel, Celine and Vanessa Bruno, as well as magazines including Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. And I've been featured in international press including Forbes, Elle, The Sunday Times and The Independent. I now help directors and leaders in midlife and beyond to rebalance that work, busy lifestyle you've become accustomed to, because you know life's too short to stay in that career-driven comfort zone. I help you to redesign and restyle your life, especially at midlife with life-changing transitions such as the breakup of relationship, divorce, menopause, or turning 40 and beyond. From your home and your wardrobe to your mind and social life, I help you with your stylish next chapter to step into your best life, because I know you're ready to rock life again. Tip 1, we all know that our hormones can play havoc as we go through the perimenopause, and what we eat can really impact how we feel. France, of course, is famous for its delicious, rich cuisine, and I often see posters around Paris where the French government and the dairy board is advising us to eat at least 3 portions of cheese per day. While I'm all for supporting French farmers, it's also significant to think about the hormones that we often find in dairy practices and meat. In France, produce tends to be of a much higher quality than other places around the world. And so a good small piece of meat or small portions of dairy from France are not necessarily going to be the same as you might find in other territories, for example. So in France, it's not about not eating your favourite things, it's about eating them in moderation. Of course, during the perimenopause, we want to limit our sugar intake. That's good for everybody, even those that aren't going through the menopause, right? But of course, when we think of French culture, we think about things like the delicious pastries and croissants. Oh my goodness, I could eat one every single day. But really, we know it's not good for us. French women don't have pastries every single day. It's a complete myth. So take a tip from French women and observe moderation in your eating habits. Although we think about steak frites and cream-laden dishes, that's not what French women are eating on an everyday basis. Rather, it might be a really small and delicious piece of good quality meat with some French beans, for example, or some delicious ratatouille. So bread in France tends to be of a much higher quality. Sourdough bread, that is to say bread where the yeast has taken longer to rise as opposed to the quick rise yeast. That's pretty standard in most French breads. So French women will have bread, but they'll have a small amount of it and it will be good quality bread. And that good quality bread is going to be less likely to play havoc on your gut and your digestive system, which can be especially sensitive at midlife and beyond. In fact, I was recently discussing the issue of French bread with my French naturopath, and she informed me that many people who believe they're gluten intolerant can in fact eat sourdough bread because it's a slower rise bread and it affects you differently than that fast rise sugar-laden bread that we so often see in culture today. Also, a lot of traditional French cooking actually has different types of grains in it. It's not all about just wheat. They use some of the more ancient wheats, we could say, where they're less processed, so it's going to be better for your body, especially at midlife. And even some of the things like the crêpe, don't you love crêpe? The traditional crêpe are often buckwheat, for example, which again is just a healthier alternative, especially at midlife and beyond. I was recently dining with my 90-year-old French neighbour. She's quite fantastic. And she offered me some foie gras. Now, whatever your opinions of the ethical implications of foie gras, it was fascinating to me that a lady who's, nearly 100 years old was still offering me foie gras. This particular jar was homemade by her maid. Made by her maid, how fabulous. And it was extremely delicious. And what I noticed is that my neighbour was eating it, but just a very small amount. And I suppose that's a great tip to take from fabulous French women. Have a little of what you like, but in moderation. So that also applies to red wine that I happen to love. It's to have a glass and not a whole bottle. And as far as dessert goes, a small mouthful, a teaspoonful of dessert just satisfies that sweet craving that some of us have at the end of meals without giving us that crazy sugar high that's just no good for us, especially when our hormones are dancing. Tip 2 is to have a cashmere scarf at hand. You've all seen this one that I have in my other videos. It's lightweight and beautiful and just drapes incredibly well. It goes with everything, and I use it for travel all over the world because it fits in with so many different climates as a natural fibre. It keeps you cool and warm at the same time. So perfect for whether you're having hot flashes or changes in temperature, so that you can easily layer up and layer down in a super elegant and easy manner. This one happens to be cashmere, but you can also look out for merino wool, which of course is also traditionally used for hiking clothes for the very same reason. You know, it keeps you warm and it keeps you cool at the same time, and helps your perspiration to leave your body in a good way. Tip 3 is to keep your sex appeal no matter how old you are. That doesn't have to mean slutty, but finding your own way of flirting with life and enjoying a little bit of va-va-voom and sensuality, whatever your age, is key to French style. The menopause and perimenopause, of course, can affect the way that we feel about ourselves. We can experience new forms of dryness and maybe not feel quite as sexy or va-va-voom as before. So it's extra important to do things that make us feel sexy from within, even if the menopause is making us feel otherwise. So embrace a little bit of French sensuality and find new ways of exploring yourself. Just because you're over 40 doesn't mean that it's time to wear granny pants. You need to maybe make more of an effort to feel sexy. A little bit of lace here and there could be a good place to start. Experimenting with new things that you've not tried for a long time to regain that zest for life. And actually, I've got plenty of other tips coming in my new French style course. If you'd be interested in that, pop a yes in the comments below and I'll let you know all about it as soon as it launches. Et voila! So that's some of the ways in which French women elegantly deal with their menopause. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye, à la prochaine!